These are 6x140s, by the way. Hello and welcome back to the shop. Today's review is on the Dewalt DCF880 18-volt half-inch impact wrench. They also had the DCF883 3/8-inch drive that is, as far as I can tell, the exact same tool with just a 3/8-inch head instead of a half-inch head. Same specs and everything. And I also would imagine that this tool is very, very similar to the DCF885 impact driver, except that that one spins a little faster and has a higher IPM rating. So, this is DeWalt's smallest and also one of their first 18-volt impact wrenches. This one came out, it was part of the first line of 18-volt tools with the slide pack that came out in 2010-2011. It is the exact same size as a standard impact driver, as you can see there, which it is hard to find impact wrenches with the half-inch drive or even a 3/8-inch drive that are identical sizes to an impact driver. What I like is that it's a little bit longer and it's narrow. Now, I don't have experience with the more modern ones where they're very short and fat, but I like the design of this one. So, tri-beam LEDs, belt hook, brushed motor. I like brushed motors. This does not lack any power. 2700 IPM. Don't know if you can see that there. Yep, there we go. 2300 RPM. 2300 RPM is handy. I like how this one spins slower than a lot of other impact wrenches. I don't have experience with high-speed impact wrenches like the modern ones that spin at like 3000 RPM, 3500 RPM, whatever. But I do have the Makita impact driver, which spins at 3600 RPM, and it is too fast. This one, it's nice and slow, but it does not lack power. As you saw, it busted the nuts off of my tractor wheels, and it has good tightening power. It drives lag bolts well, and the thing with the lower speed is that you can keep control over what you're doing better. It maybe takes a second longer per bolt, but what does that matter? You can drive them better. For tightening up nuts and bolts on like tractors and cars and stuff, does that fine. I'd actually say again, it's better to have a low speed than a high speed one. Now, I wouldn't say I'd trust this to go tightening lug nuts on. It's a little small for that, but it definitely has good power. I mean, like quite a few times I've picked this up. Oh, it's a little tool, and I've stripped out an M6 or an M8 bolt. It is handy to have the half-inch drive rather than a quarter-inch hex drive for driving lag bolts and that kind of stuff, because you just put your socket right on there. It's the same size as an impact, so I like this for driving that kind of stuff. As you saw, I did a whole roof with this. It's pretty handy for doing that kind of work, plus it's shorter. The disadvantage to having it as a half-inch drive is you put some of the bigger sockets on there, like maybe a 17 or a 21 mil. It kind of starts to feel a little bit unbalanced. But you can easily change that by just putting the 5 amp hour battery on the bottom, and then it's fine. But for a beginning mechanic, it's handy that it's a half-inch drive, because I bought this set when I first started working on my tractor of half-inch impact rated sockets. Now, I originally bought this with a ratchet, and then I got this, and then I got my big impact wrench, but they're all the same sockets. So when you're starting out doing a new line of work like that, it's kind of handy to be able to just buy one set and it will fit everything. So that's part of the reason why I wanted this one, because it was the half-inch drive and it was small. I mean, this probably has done about 95% of the work I've wanted to do with an impact wrench. Maybe a little less. I mean, I do have this one, which is a bit bigger, and the only place I've used this so far is for lug nuts and large lag bolts. Like, I drove a bunch of 10x120 lag bolts, and this was handy for that. But other than that, this one does all of the work I want an impact wrench to do. So, it's small, but it's powerful. And it has a pretty good build quality. I know that at least the 887 is not the best built impact driver in the world. It's pretty good, but this one, when you're using it, it feels pretty solid. You pick it up, it feels solid. It has a pretty good build quality. The 887 has a good build quality too. It's just, I think this one's a little better. Great ergonomics with a smaller socket on there and a 2 amp hour battery. It feels perfectly balanced. Like, it just feels great. Which, being a tool being well balanced in your hand is important, because if it's unbalanced, it just never really feels nice to use it. And if you're using it in awkward situations, yeah. Now with the extension on, it does get a little bit unbalanced, even with the bigger battery. But most of the time I don't use the extension. The extension being this. So, it may be a brushed motor, but I like brushed motors, and this is a pretty good tool. I've never thought that this was a weak tool. The only time that I've thought that this was a weak tool was when I wanted to do... I've actually never thought that it was a weak tool, but obviously for lug nuts and large lag bolts, I mean, yeah, you kind of think, it could be stronger, but that is a different tool, not the fact that it is a brushed motor. So, overall, now I haven't had this that long, I haven't used it that much, and actually if you want to see more footage of this at work, go and check out my tractor restoration series, because I did use this quite a bit for that. But so far I like this tool. I mean, it's not the kind of tool that everybody's gonna like because it's got a brushed motor, but I think if you're looking for a small impact driver, a small 1/2 inch impact, or even 3/8 inch impact wrench, you're probably going to be pretty impressed with this one. So you'll see this in future restoration videos, I'm sure. Like on the next tractor that will hopefully come at some point. And yeah, I just thought I'd make this review now because I don't know how long this tool is going to be produced for. I mean, you can still easily find, here in France you can still easily find it, but only the 1/2 inch. And in North America it appears that only the 3/8 inch is really readily available. But I might be mistaken on that. I haven't looked that much. It has good air vents on the back, and like you turn it on, you can actually feel it moving air, which is important because although it's an electric motor, it still needs cooling. So some tools are really good at cooling. I'd say this is towards the top of being good at cooling. I mean, it's not the best at cooling. When I was doing that roof that you saw me working on a bit at the beginning of the video, it was starting to get a little warm, but those were, now what were they? They were 6x80 roofing screws. They had a very, very crude head on them, and they were going into 38x38 pine, so not really the biggest job, but they had a really crude head on them, so this was having to work at it. And it started to get a little warm, but I was like putting 200 of them in less than a few hours, so I think that's acceptable. It certainly wasn't getting to burning up warm. It was getting to like working warm. So I think that's all I really have to say on this one. Other than I like it so far. It's not the be-all and end-all impact wrench, but for being a small, nimble little tool, it sure is handy, and it's good. It's good ergonomics. Like, it's a good for all your smaller things impact wrench. And like I said, or maybe I didn't say, I don't know, but for driving lag bolts, roofing screws, that kind of stuff, I'd much rather have a proper half-inch drive. And it is a detent pin, just in case you're wondering. I'd much rather have that over using your normal hex impact driver with an adapter. I mean, first off, look at how much shorter that is. And also that, like if we put our socket on here, see, that will move around quite a bit. That might not seem like much, but that makes vibration, and also I think that there should be no acceptance for wobbling chucks. Whereas this still moves around a little bit, but mostly that is just the socket moving around. At any rate, this is a lot more stable, and it's shorter, so yeah. This is not an expensive tool, and even if you want to grab the brushless versions or the newer versions, or I think that it's better to just have a proper impact wrench if you're going to do any amount of lag bolt, roofing screw, any of that, anything with a hex head. It's just handier to have a proper impact wrench. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.